Max lay in his kennel at the Cedar Grove Canine Training Center, his once proud frame now thin and weary after 8 years of dedicated service with the police department. The distinguished German Shepherd had earned a reputation as one of the most reliable working dogs in the unit, but today, the familiar scent of antiseptic mixed with the pungent tang of medicine filled his sensitive nose as he rested his head on his paws. His tired eyes, once bright with excitement, reflected years of service. Today was different. Sarah Bennett knelt beside Max's kennel, her hand gently stroking his graying muzzle through the bars. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but she maintained her composure, a trait Max had always admired about his handler. Over their years together, he had stood by her side through countless missions, drug busts, rescue operations, and more. Max had been her partner, her companion, and now, at the age of 10, he was facing his hardest challenge yet. The aggressive cancer spreading through his body. The pain medications had stopped working, and Max's quality of life had deteriorated quickly in the last week. "Hey buddy," Sarah whispered, her voice tinged with sadness. "Remember that time in the mountains when you found those lost hikers in the snowstorm?" Max's ears perked up, the memory stirring something deep within him. Despite the discomfort, he could still recall the thrill of the chase. He had tracked the scent of 2 teenagers for miles, through bitter winter winds, and led the rescue team to a small cave where the hypothermic hikers had taken shelter. It was one of his proudest moments. Dr. Martinez, the veterinarian who had cared for Max throughout his career, approached quietly, her footsteps soft on the ground. She had already explained to Sarah that the cancer was spreading rapidly and that continuing treatment would only prolong Max's suffering. Despite his declining health, Max had hidden his pain for months, pushing through discomfort to continue working. It wasn't until he collapsed during a routine training exercise that the full extent of his condition became apparent. As the autumn sun cast long shadows through the kennel windows, Max knew something important was about to happen. Officers from the K-9 unit had gathered outside, their presence thick with respect and sadness. Max might not have understood the concept of cancer, but he knew his time was drawing to an end. The bond he shared with Sarah had lasted nearly a decade. They had faced challenges, but they had always emerged victorious until now. Max's story with Sarah had started when she was fresh out of the police academy. Back then, she had been paired with the young, energetic German Shepherd. Their first days hadn't been easy. Max's intense drive had tested Sarah's handling skills. But through hours of training, shared meals in the patrol car, and real-world operations, they had forged an unbreakable bond. Max had become known for his uncanny ability to switch from playful exercises with children during community outreach events to full alert during dangerous operations in mere seconds. His tracking skills had become legendary, breaking open cold cases and locating missing persons. As Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out Max's favorite tennis ball. Max's eyes followed the movement. Despite his weakness, his tail gave a slight wag, a small sign of the bond they had forged. This was their special reward after successful missions. The simple act of playing fetch, a game that had meant so much more over the years, represented trust, partnership, and the joy they had shared. Dr. Martinez gathered the officers for a quiet consultation outside Max's kennel. The latest tests showed that the cancer had spread to his vital organs. Max's kidneys were beginning to fail, and the prognosis was clear. The decision was heartbreaking but necessary. But just as this decision was being made, something unexpected happened, something that would forever change how the department approached K-9 care. During Max's final examination, Dr. Martinez discovered that his type of cancer was linked to prolonged exposure to certain chemical compounds commonly encountered during drug detection work. This revelation would lead to the development of new protective protocols for K-9 units across the country, potentially saving many future police dogs from the same fate. Max, despite his weakness, seemed to sense the gravity of the moment. His posture remained alert, his eyes never leaving Sarah, as if he was trying to communicate something important in these final hours. The decision was made. Max would not suffer through another night of pain. The K-9 unit arranged a final tribute, a guard of honor, to recognize Max's years of dedicated service. As the sun began to set, officers lined the walkway leading to the veterinary room. Standing at attention, a final salute to a colleague who had served with distinction. Max, supported gently by Sarah, walked this path one last time. His steps were slow, but his head was held high. In the veterinary room, surrounded by those who loved him most, Max laid his head in Sarah's lap. As the final moments approached, Sarah whispered stories of their adventures together, the lives they had saved, the criminals they had caught, and the countless ways Max had made the world a better place. Max's tail wagged softly at the sound of her voice, and his eyes never left her face. His legacy would extend far beyond his years of service. The discovery about chemical exposure risks would spark changes in canine units nationwide, leading to improved safety protocols and advanced health monitoring for police dogs. The Max Fund would be established, providing medical care for retired canines, ensuring that their well-being would never be neglected again. Max's story would continue to inspire new generations of handlers, teaching them the importance of recognizing subtle signs of distress in their canine partners. As the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple, Max closed his eyes for the final time, surrounded by love and honor, having completed his watch with dignity and courage. In death, as in life, he remained what he had always been: a guardian, a hero, and a true friend.